Hi, good evening, everybody. This is Dr. Chabi Dubey, and welcome once again to our session where we shall be discussing about the Code of Ethics of School of Social Work as we started in the previous session. And this is important since the students will be carrying out their fieldwork very soon. And these are some of the things that we need to remember once we start our work on the field. So we had done part of the Code of Ethics of School of Social Work, where we discussed about the various ethics and the principles related to the ethics in social work. So today we shall be taking our discussion forward uh, and discuss the Code of Ethics further. So I will be sharing my screen with you all. So, yesterday, when we were talking about the code of ethics, we said that they are basically 12 core values of social work, in which the social work's vision and mission they are founded. And we will start with these values today, these core social work values. Now, the first value is the service to humanity. That is, we provide service for humanitarian purposes. We provide our services to individuals, to our clients who may be individuals, can be families, it can be groups, or even communities. The ethical principle behind this value is first of all that the social workers they ought to render their service on the ideal of brotherhood of humanity. That is, all the people in the world they are related to each other through the common thread of humanity, and this value of service to humanity should be based on that premise. The workers they must also acknowledge that service to others is more important than self-interest. So we have to keep our self-interest at bay, keep our self-interest, you know, um, at different, and try to help people who are in need of the services. And we also place the needs of others ahead of our own personal interests. So we have to think beyond our personal interest and genuinely make an attempt to serve people. Then social workers they must also provide remedial, preventive, developmental, emotional, and supportive services to their clients. Now, there are different kind of services that as social workers, as social welfare agencies, we have to provide to our clients. These could be remedial, okay, provide remedial services, provide remedies to the problems, solutions to the problems. These can be preventive. How we can prevent certain problems from happening could be developmental, helping in the overall developmental aspect of individuals, okay, emotional and supportive services. So we can support individuals, we can counsel them, we can promote emotional support and um, counseling services to individuals so that they may uh, so that they are able to overcome their uh, problems related to relationships, relating to so many other aspects of their lives that they may be facing. And these clients could be individuals, they could be groups, they could be families, or they could be even communities. Then, keeping in view the duty towards the nation, that is, understanding that we have a duty towards the nation that we live in. Social workers, we have to also extend every possible service to the country. So, whenever there is any requirement, where we have to provide any kind of service to the nation. So there may be some kind of a calamity. There may be some kind of a problem happening, a war situation, or some conflicting situation happening in any part of the country. Then we may extend our services in whatever manner possible. And this can be also in the way of providing um, uh, or consulting policymakers to help them formulate certain welfare policies, considering the fact that we have a very good, generally, social workers have a good experience working on the field. And this long term experience of working on the field gives them a good, you know, understanding of the ground realities, and they can definitely um, support the welfare planning and policy making processes. And also, uh, these services have to be provided keeping in view these theoretical base, that is the 12 value bases and the 12 principles, methods and techniques specifically identified and being promoted for the profession. So we, whatever services we have, we provide to the people, to the community, to the nation, we have to include these 12 value base and 12 methods and techniques on that basis. And we must also try and connect with clients, with systems and institutions that provide services, resources, support, and opportunities to humanity across the board. So these can be, uh, work must be related to connecting clients with the systems and institutions. So, connecting clients with systems and institutions that provide services, that provide various resources, that provide support to the people and opportunities to humanity across the board. So, after this, we come to the second value. This is the value of social justice. Now, social justice is basically providing justice to people, removing any kind of injustice or discrimination or threat to people on the basis of various characteristics like race or gender or maybe class, caste, age, etc. So we provide social justice to everyone, and the various ethical principles behind this value are: first is as change agents, that is, as individuals who are working to bring about changes in the society. Social workers, they have to challenge injustices. So this is also very much in particular to the vulnerable sections of the population, the disadvantaged groups, or the oppressed, the people who are exploited, and the likes. Then we must also pursue for fair distribution of resources. So whatever resources are available to us at the disposal, we need to provide fair distribution of these resources, ensure that these resources are equitably distributed and in a fair and just manner between the different groups and communities in the society. And these basic needs, because everybody needs to fulfill the basic needs like food, shelter, clothing, healthcare facilities, education, and legal assistance. And we have to ensure that these basic services are made available to each and every individual in the society. Then, social workers must also relentlessly work towards ensuring equal rights and opportunities. So, the opportunities and rights of individuals, they should be promoted to each and every individual without any discrimination or using the state and public social services for all citizens. So, these opportunities and rights must be ensured to each and every individual without any kind of discrimination on the basis of any aspect. Then social workers must also focus on empowering clients by continuously convincing them that their actions and their rights for social justice are not influenced by biases of the influential and the powerful in the social, economic, religious, and political system of the countries. So they have to focus on empowering the clients by continuously convincing them. Basically, you can say in a way of promoting their capacities, their capabilities, and also convincing them that any action that they carry forth, to ensure rights and social justice, they are not influenced by biases of the influential and the powerful in the system. And social workers must also recognize and respect the cultural diversity of the population. So, all the diversity that is there in the population in terms of linguistic diversities, religious diversities, class, caste, gender, socioeconomic status. These diversities on these bases, these must be respected. And they also must challenge oppressive and unjust policies and practices by drawing attention to those in power. So, the people in power, like the policymakers, the legislators, the employers, the constitutional legal experts, general public, and all, they must be made aware of the oppressive, forces and the unjust policies that are at play. Also, social workers, they have the duty to work towards ensuring an inclusive society where resources are adequate. So, an inclusive society needs to be formulated, by the efforts of the social workers, where there is social inclusion, where their resources are adequate, and any kind of stigmatization must be altogether absent. The third value is respect for dignity and worth of the individual, which we have already said that it is one of the most important value, where we respect the person and understand that he or she has dignity and value on their on their own. So the ethical principles related to it are that social workers, they believe the fact that all human rights, they are derived from the dignity and worth inherent in the human person. So these human rights are derived from the dignity and inherent worth of individuals, and therefore they make every effort to ensure that interventions are made with non-judgmental attitude. So we need to follow a non-judgmental attitude as far as our clients are concerned. Social workers must also accept the truth that their clients have innate right to be valued and receive ethical treatment. So any kind of discrimination and stigmatization should not be there. Must also treat client, with in a caring and respectful manner. So all the clients with whom we are working, they must be dealt with in a very, respectful manner, and at the same time we must also respect their ethnic, religious, and cultural diversities. Social workers must also understand that valuing the dignity and worth of each clients, um, respecting and honoring the right of the client to self-determination and autonomy rather than dictating, this is very important. And social workers must prevent dictating any conditions or conditionalities to the client. Then they must also believe that everyone has equal worth and dignity and are able to feel, think, plan, and decide for themselves. Also, social workers need to believe that clients treated with respect, arising out of the dignity and worth inherent in them, will increase their own sense of self esteem. So, when the clients are, uh, you know, treated with dignity and respect, then they start to feel, they start to think, they start to plan and decide on their own. And also, social workers need to believe that clients treated with respect, they will increase their own sense of self esteem. So their sense self-esteem will increase, their self-respect is going to increase, their confidence levels are going to increase. So all of these things will help and facilitate the process in turn. The next value is importance of human relationships. Now there is a realization on the part of the social workers that the social work relationship is much greater than any kind of friendly relations with the between the worker and the client, which makes the former a social doctor. So we have to carry out this relationship by being or by playing the role of a social doctor. So we are a social doctor in the sense that we help the client to understand, to diagnose the problem, the reasons behind the problem, what are the reasons which are keeping the problem from which are keeping the client from finding solutions to the problems. We must also understand and try to bring out an intervention plan for the client, by of course keeping the client involved in the process. So basically we have to act as a social doctor for the client, so we facilitate this helping process in every manner. Then um, also when they are inculcating the values of importance of human relationships, they need to understand the boundaries while working with clients. Okay. And this is very important, so we do not we do not cross this boundary, and we do not misuse or misutilize the relationship that we have with the clients when we are doing this. And also there is an understanding that the social service that the service users concerns, to understand that is important, and how they feel, which will result in warm and healthy relationships. So this is also important to understand the impact that this relationship will be which will be there for the client. And then social workers, they need to also understand that they should not misuse any relationship or trust that the clients have given to them, and recognize their boundaries, not abusing their personal position for personal benefit or gain of any form. Okay. Uh, then they also recognize that people are watching their behaviors at every level. So it's not that they are being keen observers, but even the clients or other individuals who are working with them, they are also watching their behaviors and the services that are provided by them. So, in a way, if they commit any mistakes, if they commit any kind of, wrongdoing, then they need to admit those mistakes and admit that they are not perfect. Then these universally accepted principles of social work, like individualization, acceptance, non-judgmental attitude, clients' rights to self determination, and confidentiality of vital importance, while imbibing and making evident the value of the importance of human relationship. So, these universally accepted principles, like individualization, considering every individual as a unique person, this principle of acceptance, accepting the client as he or she is, non judgmental attitude, not having any kind of judgments or preconceived notions about the client, their right to self determination, that is, understanding that clients have the right to, take decisions of their life, to take control of their life, and also confidentiality, that is, keeping the information that the client has given to them with very seek in a confidential manner. These are all vital importance. The next value here is the value of competence. Competence means, of course, having appropriate skills and knowledge about one's work or profession. Now, some of the ethical principles related to competence include, first of all, social workers, they need to practice within their area of competence with responsibility and commitment to the helping professional and clients. That is, social workers, they will practice within the area where they have competence and skills. So, whatever field they are best in, they are good in, they are going to practice in that area, and also understanding that they have a sense of responsibility, they have a commitment that they have to, share with the client. Also, social workers, they must aspire to contribute to the knowledge and skill base of the profession. So they need to carry out or participate in research from time to time, share their experiences of the field, share the results of the research, and to contribute to the overall knowledge building and theoretical understanding of the subject. Then they must also ensure that the services provided are of highest quality, effective, and aimed at the best interest of the client. So, whatever services they need to, provide, they should be of the highest quality, they should be effective, and they should aimed at the best interest of the client. Then, social workers should also present themselves as competent only after pursuing appropriate study, followed by successful completion of the degrees, diplomas, guided training, consultations with experts from relevant fields, supervision from people. All of these things must be understood, and they must represent themselves after having completed their studies, their training, and they must also, during the course of their work, they make seek training and other guidance in terms of consultations with other experts and supervision from people who are competent in the areas of intervention. So this is how they can further their competitiveness. Then they must also continue to gain competence by being open to new knowledge and skills. They must be open to learning new things, gaining new knowledge, and also skills from research findings, sharing of experiences, and participating in the continuing education programs of various nature. Then the code of ethics, it also expect the social workers to undertake research to ensure minimum risk to the respondent and seek informed consent in advance and guarantee confidentiality within the boundaries of the profession, keeping in view the views of the values of the cultural sensitivity and patriotism. So they have to undertake research in order to ensure that minimum risk is done is a minimum risk is there for the correspondent. Also seek informed consent, so they need to take consent from the respondents before they take the data from them, and also guarantee confidentiality of whatever data is shared by the respondent. The next value is that of integrity. The various principles behind integrity is, first of all, social workers, they must adhere to the ethical principles of the of the profession by maintaining high standard of behavior with honesty, trustworthiness, being respectful, and having a sense of justice and fairness. So they need to adhere to these ethical principles of the profession and maintain high standards of behavior. So they need to be honest in whatever they do. They need to be trustworthiness. Okay, they need to be respectful to the clients and also have a sense of justice and fairness. Then they must also ensure that their conduct with the client, individuals, groups, family, and community does not bring disrepute to the profession in any manner. So we need to avoid getting into things or getting into, uh, you know, a conduct or a behavior that should uh, that is that brings about any kind of disrepute to the profession. So then they must also strive for impartiality in their professional practice. And in this way, they need to refrain from imposing their personal values, views, and preferences on clients. So they don't impose anything on the client. They let the client decide for themselves what they want and act to present the unauthorized or um, unqualified practice of the profession. So this they need to understand that any kind of you know impartiality should be there in their professional practice, and they need to um, um they need to actually refrain from imposing anything, imposing their thoughts or ideas or preferences on the client. They must be sincere, reliable, and open. Obviously, they need to be sincere in their work. They need to be reliable, and they need to be open, explaining clearly their roles and extent of interventions, limitations, and avoiding the manipulation of their clients, employers, colleagues, well wishers, um, and those in the professional network. So this is something that they need to do. Then they must also set for themselves certain limitations in their relationships with clients, as we've already discussed this. We should not take any liberty of the professional status for personal benefit and financial and sexual exploitation. Then they must ensure professional accountability for their judgments and also actions to their clients, employers, and general public. So they this professional accountability towards the clients, this needs to be maintained. Also, we need to have responsibility and commitment to every project and research that we undertake. So we need to ensure accountability as well as we need to share the result of the studies to enhance the knowledge and skill base of the profession. Next value is that of hard work. So, social workers in this value they need to imbibe and inculcate. Um, they need to inculcate various values of social work. Now we already know this, and they must also ensure that the students, trainees, and supervisors these imbibe the value of hard work during the period of education. So during this period, while they are undergoing their education and training, they need to ensure the uh, that they imbibe the value of hard work. Now, principle of hard work ensures punctuality, discipline, cultural sensitivity, teachership, and behavior modification in the professional life of the worker. Then next is the social workers. They must do adequate preparation and homework prior to social work intervention. So whatever social work intervention we are planning on doing, we would require adequate preparation for it, and like trainings and academic sessions. And social work professionals, then social work professionals, they are expected to prepare intellectually and emotionally prior to. Um, okay. Now, whenever we start some intervention program with the client, then we need to do adequate preparation for that. Okay, so we may be doing some kind of an intervention, or we may be taking training sessions and academic sessions. Then we need to do some kind of homework. and preparations prior to that. Now, social work professionals are expected to prepare intellectually and emotionally prior to um, you can say prior to initiating the um, various kinds of interventions for the maximum benefit of the clients. And we should also contribute our time, we should contribute our professional expertise, and also uh, promotion of values, methods, principles, and associations of social work profession. Now, social workers must also focus on growth and development of self, profession, and the client system, because they are expected to have strong internal drive for excellence in service delivery. So definitely they need to focus on the growth and self development, need to focus on their skill development, need to focus on imbibing, working on enhancing their knowledge base. And this is important because they are expected to give or drive. They have to have a strong internal drive for excellence in service delivery towards enhancing their professional self, enhancing the profession as well as the client system. Then these are also expected to have strong determination and dedication to the process of social work intervention and service delivery. Also, social workers, they need to strengthen the knowledge base of the social work. So they need to strengthen the knowledge base of the social work. They need to enhance their skills and their understanding, need to participate more and more into continuing education programs like seminars, conferences, trainings, workshops, faculty development programs, research, etc. And the principle of hard work, this also enables a social work to remain proficient in the profession practice, keeping in view the emerging area of knowledge relevant to social work in the cultural and environmental context. Next is the value of teachership. So, teachership, there are several ethical principles related to it, that they must recognize the teachership and the profession, social work, as divine professions. Okay, so this is basically that we have to act as a guide, as a mentor, as a philosopher to the students, and also without any kind of a discrimination. So, they need to promote individual development and pursuit of excellence in the students. They must also inspire and motivate the students, okay, or the clients, or the service seekers. And every professional, whether it's a teacher or a practitioner, must be convinced that the social worker's role involves the values of teachership. And social workers are expected to inspire and motivate the clients and service seekers to face challenges. Then they have to be passionate, positive, and enthusiastic when they're dealing with problems, concerns, and issues of the clients. Then they should strengthen knowledge base and skills of social work, use a knowledge base and skills to strengthen the profession by undertaking the task of recording and publishing their practice competence, as well as pursuing the research program at various levels. And then finally, that they need to demonstrate several qualities of a teacher, such as responsibility and commitment, hard work, loyalty to profession, dignity and worth of the person, importance of human relationships, cultural sensitivity, and all of these values. Next value is the loyalty to profession. Now, they first of all, social workers, they must contribute to the development of the profession, and they must strive to enhancing the professional status of the social work profession by refraining from unhealthy behaviors. They affect the value of the professions. They also carry out the personal duties with maximum responsibility and commitment, refraining from any kind of unhealthy behaviors. So this is important when we talk about being loyal to the one's profession. Then they must be honest with the finances and accounts. So any kind of financial activities that they carry out, or whatever accounts they are dealing with, they have to have that kind of level of honesty, and also expect the social worker to use finances and grants exclusively for the purpose of which they are sanctioned. The next value is the value of patriotism. Now, patriotism also means the having love or imbibing love for one's country. So, need to ensure that the students, trainees, and supervisees they imbibe that the value of patriotism during the period of their training, education, and research. So they will, think of viewing the welfare of the people and development of the nation as the most important part of their work. So they also must respect the democratic process and the rights enshrined in the constitution of the land. Also, understanding that social work practice and intervention they must be in accordance with the democratic values of rights and duties of the people enshrined in the constitution of each country. Now, social workers must also be loyal to one's country and the principle for which it stands. Okay, they have to be loyal, dedicated to the enrichment and enhancement of the aspiration of one's country and work towards its growth, development, and perseverance of its values and culture. So, if they are dealing with the national social work where they are dealing with international clients and they need to have accurate knowledge about the profile of the client's country and their culture, they need to have value of patriotism. They must available the social worker to be well informed about the profile of the client's country, about the legal system, about the policies prevalent, about the all of these are important um, y- um, when it comes to talking about being patriotic. Then they must definitely be non-discriminatory approach. They must have non-discriminatory approach and um consider the differences, or you may say that they need to respect the differences that exist between the different individuals. Okay, and they are supposed to be expected to regard the country. They expected to regard the culture, health practices, positive values without any discrimination. So these are some of the values, and the last one being responsibility and commitment. Can you please mute yourself? Can you please mute yourself, Barsha Rani? Yeah, thank you. Next is the ethical standards and responsibilities, where we were talking about responsibility and commitment. Now, under this value, we come to the principle that they need to exhibit professional responsibility and commitment towards social work practice, and also that they are expected to have a higher degree of responsibility and commitments towards the interventions that they carry out. They have to promote social justice that we've already seen before, and fight for any, or try to bring down any structure that are working as barriers to the preserving equality, human rights, and the and natural environment, and also providing services in the context of professional relationship. So it's a value of responsibility and commitment to the worker that motivates one to provide services. And we have to keep these in view, all these principles in view, and understand that we have to refrain from engaging in any form of, or disrespectful relationship with the clients. It could be our colleagues or students, and refrain from any kind of, um, uh, refraining from any kind of actions which may be disrespectful. Maintaining confidentiality is again something that we have already seen. They have to be responsible and committed towards enhancing the professional knowledge and skills of their professional self, as well as the other members of the group, and they must also exercise the responsibility and commitment to the profession. So it's this basically, whatever work they carry out as a student, they have to carry out all those work in a very professional and ethical manner. Okay, then we come to the ethical standards and responsibilities. There are certain ethical principles, standards, and responsibilities which are integral to the social work profession in the Indian society, and these are also as guidelines which assist the social workers, academicians, practices, students, to act with ethical responsibility and accountability while they pursue this profession of social work. The code also expresses the values and practice responsibility of the professionals, which will guide the workers, their clients, employing institutions, self employed workers, as well as the colleagues of the worker. This code will facilitate the stakeholder in also understanding what constitutes ethical social work behavior and practice. So we have to focus on professional social work identities. We have to focus on ethical reflection and decision making, and guide the professionals when considering the reciprocal rights. Okay, with the employing institutions and employers and the colleagues. Now, we are also aware that the behavior or actions will not find mention in this document, whatever. And the event of any involving guidelines in such cases, one must adhere to the general intent and principles. Now, this code of ethics is again open to revision from time to time, and over a period of time, lot of revisions have been done, and the ethical standards and responsibilities expected of professional social workers and institutions pertaining to social work activities. These are certain ethical responsibilities. First is the ethical responsibilities towards the clients. So, clients, as we have seen, it could be individuals, it could be families, it could be groups, or it could be in communities. Then there is this ethical responsibility towards the colleagues, and then there is ethical responsibility to the professional practice, responsibilities to the professionals, other professionals who are working with us, responsibilities to social work profession, okay, to the institution with whom we are working, and also in responsibilities to research in the social work. Now, although some of the standards seem inspirational in content and nature, most of the social work professionals and institutions, they are urged to accept and abide by these code of ethics. Until a legally recognized council or body is established for social work in India, professional judgment is to be exercised by the institutions when alleged violations of ethical standards are reported. So, definitely, as we've already seen, that there is no legally recognized council or body in India which oversees this profession of social work. So till the time a body like this comes up, we have to follow these code of ethics and use this as in our judgment when we are, dealing with alleged violations of ethical standards. Then ethical responsibilities to the clients. Here, the responsibility of the professional is basically to promote the well-being of the client. So whatever, whichever client we are dealing with, so whether we are dealing with individuals, whether we are dealing with individuals, whether we are dealing with any kind of a group or a community, we have to work for their well-being and ensure the best interest of the client whenever we are planning any intervention or providing help to them. Loyalty and commitment, definitely, that means that if their interests are jeopardized, we need to, protect their interests. We need to, in certain circumstances, we may be outweighed by legal obligation, larger interests of the society. In this circumstances, we have to inform the clients that their interests may be jeopardized. Then also we have a responsibility to safeguard the safety of the client, their rights and their interests, and also recognize and promote the right of the client to self determination. So understanding that the clients, they have to, um, the right to determine the the kind of, the decisions that they want to make, what exactly they would want to, follow for themselves. And so we have to consider these right of the client toward, for self determination. And with the knowledge and consent of the client, the social worker may seek collaborations of other service providers in the best interest of the of the client. The professionals will also aim at reducing the hurdles of the client to self determination. And this may be in terms of, maybe the client is suffering from some kind of a disability, maybe age as another dependency factors, language, religion, and other status and other vulnerabilities of the client. We have to consider all these factors. Also, we have to take them into confidence with regard to the rights and responsibilities and give them honest, accurate, and complete information. Also, professionals, they will, uh, the professionals also have to, provide accurate and complete information regarding the nature, benefits, and limitations of the services that is being offered. Also the need for recording, documentation, and other purposes, and other requirements. Also, right of the client to seek second opinion, as well as discontinuing with the services if they do not consider it to be relevant. Then social workers will also try to minimize the use of legal provisions and any kind of pressures on the client. Any decision which violates the legal and civil rights of the client must not be justifiable. Okay, and in that sense, we need to take the client into confidence. And dealing with certain cases of involuntary clients, the professionals may um, recognize their limitations in promoting self determination of the clients. Also, we have to keep motivating the voluntary and involuntary clients to participate in the decision making with regard to the goals, options, and services available to them. Also, informing the clients regarding the decisions taking about them, how this information sharing would bring, a harm to maybe other members of the society or to the general public. They must also seek specific advice and withhold some information from the clients if they deem fit. And professionals must also be aware about the potential impact of the coercive power on involuntary clients and, wherever possible, seek their advocacy services in the best interest of the client. So, this is some of the important aspects related to their responsibilities towards the client. Second is there a second important aspect in this regard is informed consent. Informed consent, that we need to provide all kind of information to the client, be very clear about the kind of services that they are that we are providing to them, what are the limitations that are there, and then seek the consent of the individual to go ahead. So they must inform the time frame which will be covered by the consent. In informing the client, social workers must use clear and simple language. So whatever language we use to provide information to the client, that should be very simple. Need to inform them about the purpose of the service, what exactly the service is meant for, what is the case of the voluntary clients, the reasonable alternatives that is provided to them, and the right of the client to refuse or withdraw consent. Then, whenever we are entering into the helping process of a child or an adolescent, then the social workers, they must obtain the consent from the adolescent's parents or the guardian. Social worker, in case of an involuntary client who cannot grant informed consent, they need to obtain consent from a party legally empowered to do so. So this consent must be from the legally empowered party. And also, if the client is illiterate or have difficulty in reasonably understanding the language, necessary steps should be taken so that the client is able to comprehend whatever is provided to them. Then next is the in assisting involuntary clients, social workers must also provide information about the nature, need, and extent of the services that he or she will be providing. They need to be informed about the extent of the client's right to refuse or withdraw from the services. And also, in advent of the distance learning and online learning and the rapid spread of information technology, there are several clients who reside in faraway places and who are referred to the professionals. And in such instances, social worker must inform the recipients of the limitations and risks associated with such services. Then must also seek informed consent of the client for audio and video recording whenever if there is a need for that. And every effort to publish their experiences to enhance the knowledge and skill base of the profession, that must be done. The third aspect is the confidentiality and privacy. Now, the right to the client's right to confidentiality and privacy must be respected by the social worker. They must be responsible in using the information which is obtained during the helping process. Now, whatever information is given to us, we have to be very responsible, okay? And because that is directly related to the well being of the client. Um, Social workers must also take confidence into confidence each and every member who is involved in conducting counseling. So whoever is involved in the case, or directly or indirectly, they have to take into confidence of each and every member of the group. So for example, uh, in case of husband and wife or partners who are living in relationships, same sex partner, child and its parents, caretakers of institutionalized clients, all of these must take into confidence. The social worker must take into confidence all of these members who are directly or indirectly involved in the case. Then promoting unity and diversity. This is very important when we are talking about working in India. Also, social workers should not be taking any kind of liberty with the client and intrude unnecessarily on the client's privacy. So, this is something that we need to be very careful about. Also, they need to seek informed consent from the clients or the legally authorized persons to disclose confidential information. Also, they have the responsibility to treat confidential information about the client obtained from other sources. Except for very compelling reasons, social workers should protect the confidentiality of the information pertaining to the clients. So they need to understand the limits of confidentiality in any situation by explaining the requirements of the agency, institution, and the legal system. And also, they have the responsibility to tell the client how the information may be used and the uh, purpose for which the information is obtained. And in very exceptional and also we need to in very exceptional instances where there is a need to prevent serious foreseeable or imminent harm to a client, or when laws or regulations require disclosure without a client's consent, the professional is permitted to disclose the least amount of confidential information necessary to achieve the desired purpose. And they must also discuss with the client those matters to the client, the nature and limitation of the client's rights and the confidentiality. And these decisions should occur as early as possible during the helping process. And it's also important for the social worker to seek agreement from all parties in the event of counseling services, to couples, to partners, to families and groups, and their obligation to preserve confidentiality. Then Then, keeping in view that social workers are social doctors, the profession should not discuss confidential information outside the clinic or outside the agency. But they must also ensure that they protect the confidentiality of clients during the legal proceedings. Then, students of social work who get themselves involved in the helping process of the client, they must also protect the identity of the clients while reporting to the supervisor. And in case of shared confidentiality with the supervisor, the agency, or the faculty supervisor, informed consent of the client, it has to be obtained by explaining the concerns involved. They must also assess the level of perceived risk and harm that may be done to the client before disclosing the confidential information. And the worker must seek consultation with other professional referring agency, and must consider the legal issues involved in the best interest of the client. Now, the code does not permit the social workers to disclose confidential information with the media, keeping in view the dignity and worth of the person. So, these are some of the important aspects with regard to the confidentiality. Um, Apart from this, teachers, practitioners, students, They have the moral responsibility to keep the records of the clients in safe locations, okay, so that they do not get leaked, or they do not are and these documents may be disposed of in order to avoid misuse in the future. They should also protect the confidentiality and identity of the client even after the termination of the case. Discontinuation of the case by the worker of the client and death of the client so should protect the confidentiality even after all these um, uh, you know events. Also understanding that they should be taken to precaution not to disclose identity of the client during the classroom teaching, okay, unless the client has given consent for the same. They should avoid doing this practice. And then they must also take precaution to ensure anonymity of the client while presenting the casework in the classroom, and refrain from associating with any kind of a media, okay, or giving any kind of information about the client. The next is maintaining records. And maintaining records is one of the most important thing that must be done by practitioners and academicians alike. This is important because it prepares the knowledge base, enhances the knowledge base of the uh, it enhances the knowledge base of the subject. It also helps other future social workers to get information on this particular uh, you know um, in this aspect. And we have to actually but ensure that the documentation protects the identity of the client. Then must also ensure that the information recorded are rare. Whatever the documents that are available, they must be accurate and they must be free from any impartiality. And also using the client's records for purposes other than those legally and professionally authorized, consent of the client must be obtained. They must also not discuss any information under RTI Act unless such information are sought by the judiciary. And the social workers must ensure separation of facts and opinions while recording information and matters associated with the helping process. Now, social workers also ensure that the clients have reasonable access to official social work records concerning them except for compelling reasons. And they must inform the client about the available procedures for complaints in case they are not satisfied with the records or the services. Moreover, social workers they need to protect the records of the clients by storing them in safe locations. Okay, and they must dispose of confidential records after the purpose for which such records are prepared. And also, they have to ensure that the hard copies are burned while electronic records are erased in accordance with the legal provision covering the um, information technology. And when social workers in scenarios when they are convinced that access to field record can cause harm to the clients, then they must provide only portions of the records and explain the reason for the same. So all these steps are very important in maintaining the confidentiality of the individuals and their roles. Now the next aspect is what is related to physical contact and sexual relations. Now, in this particular part or issue, we need to keep in view the values of cultural sensitivity, importance of human relationship, and the dignity and worth of the person. Social workers should not engage in any kind of physical contact with clients, and under no circumstances they should engage in sexual activities with clients. They should also not engage in sexual relationships with the client's relatives or friends when there is a risk of exploitation. They should also not provide professional services to individuals with whom they had prior sexual relationship, and also avoid sexual harassment of clients and people associated with them. And the nature of sexual harassment would include requests for sexual favors, verbal and physical conduct of sexual nature, sexual solicitation, and sexual advances of all nature. So this kind of behavior is totally prohibited. Then professional charges for services. Social workers they shall not charge any fee for professional services rendered to involuntary clients, and institutional clients and the clients referred by the agency where one is employed. They, when they're charging fee from voluntary clients, they must ensure that the fee charged is reasonable, fair, affordable to the economic status of the client and commensurate with the services provided. So they must set the fee at the beginning of establishing professional relationship with the client. And depending upon the extent and duration of services, the fee will vary from client to client. Also, they should avoid bartering system when setting fee, which can create conflict of interest. In most parts, the concept and practice of counseling services are private, and several professionals they continue to render free services depending upon the philanthropic interest and part of the human services. Now there are other leaders like religious leaders like priests, nuns, monks, and so on, who are trained in social work. Keeping in view the value of cultural sensitivity, they must accept voluntary gifts as token of gratitude, may accept that being expressed by the clients from certain cultural background. And keeping in view the value of service before self, dignity and worth of the person, importance of human relationship and integrity, social work professionals must set aside a portion of their services free of cost. Then next is the interruption of services. Keeping in view the value of responsibility and commitment, they have to, ensure continuity of the services except in unavoidable circumstances like illness, disability, or other emergency situations. So the services should be continuous and must inform the clients their an effort must be made not to frequently interrupt the services provided to the clients. Now, during the termination of services, they need to discontinue. Social workers who are intending to discontinue the services for any reason must discuss the matter with the client. And even on discontinuation of services, social workers must ensure that the employer is taken into confidence in the case of involuntary clients. In the case of voluntary client, services may be discontinued if the client is unable to pay fee, if the client does not want to continue with the services, or if the client wants to get transferred to some other professional. And in case of termination of services, social worker must assist the client for transfer services. Okay, also provide them with the required information regarding the helping process with the consent of the client for the subsequent professional. And also, they must not terminate the services in order to pursue any kind of services the in order to pursue any other relationship with the client, like could be financial relationship, sexual relationship, or marital proposal, etc. If the social worker is leaving the job, he should inform the employer as well as the client that he or she is leaving the job, and facilitate the client for the continuation of services under another professional. Also, keeping in view the core values, we have to understand that these importance of human relationship. They must not abandon services to the client without discussing the matter with the client. Also, they must help the client in achieving their goals of uh, you know um, of helping process. Also, they need to respect the right of the voluntary client to discontinue the service or engage in other professional or seek any second opinion with this regard. Then there are some ethical responsibilities towards the colleagues. That means that first is the ethical responsibility of respect. And we need to give respect to the colleagues that we work with, irrespective of their views, professional expertise, areas of specialization, and they must also be prudent in resolving conflicts arising in relationships and all issues of professional nature. So there may be a lot of, uh, you know, uh, um, um, differences that we may see during the workplace. So we need to resolve them peacefully and avoid any kind of unwarranted criticism of colleagues or verbal and written communication of negative nature with the colleagues that will you know include things like competence of the colleague or commenting on the behavior traits, their trustworthiness or personal background, okay, and any kind of status like that. Then also, they must avoid trivial and vexatious criticism of their behavior of the colleagues, and there must be they are expected to accept constructive criticism. There must be interdisciplinary collaboration. That is, collaborating with colleagues from other disciplines, other background and competencies and skill base, and cooperating with them from other disciplines in order to you know benefit the client or benefit the institution or the profession, and also ensure that the extent of collaboration from colleagues from other disciplines should be within the boundaries of the profession. So colleagues from other profession should not be recommended for teaching core courses pertaining to social work or philosophical methods, values, principles. Like somebody who's teaching psychology or somebody who's teaching sociology must not be, you know, there to teach the core social work papers, like methods of social work or value base or other principles of social work, techniques of social work. They must also be members of interdisciplinary team. They must ensure that such professional and ethical obligations are clearly established. Also collaborate with colleagues from social work and other disciplines in the best interest of the clients. Okay, cooperate with colleagues from other professions to enhance their knowledge base, their theory, experiences and skills. Now there can be disputes related to colleagues, and in such a scenario, we need to avoid seeking benefits from such disputes, okay, and not take advantage of such disputes in any way. And there can be incompetence and impairment of colleagues, and this may be a result of the health difficulties, maybe some personal problems, and other psychosocial distress. So the professional must consult with the colleague and extend assistance to take appropriate remedial measures. Also, when the social worker is convinced that a colleague's impairment affects the practice of the profession, specifically there are certain behaviors, okay, then they must take the responsibility to appraise a colleague's employer or agency or authority about the behavior. Okay, whenever it is the social worker is of the opinion that the incompetence of the colleague is not in the best interest of the profession, then definitely we need to report this matter with the right to discuss the matter with the colleague so that the remedial measures are sought to address, such as incompetence. Then unethical behavior of the colleague can maybe act sometimes the colleagues may act in some ethical behavior, and in such a case the social worker needs to discuss such instances and such concerns with the colleagues. And when they find a colleague is getting involved in an unethical behavior, they need to do whatever is in their in their um, uh, whatever is we need to discuss this to address the okay, sorry. Whenever we find that social workers find their colleagues getting involved in unethical behaviors, they should do the needful to discourage this behavior. Okay, and they when they are faced with situations and when they are involved in some ethical behavior, not willing to stop, then they should follow the established policies and procedures to bring the matter before the regulatory authorities. And also defending their colleagues who are unjustly charged with unethical behavior. So these are some of the important things that the social workers need to do. Then, whenever there's a referral for services and consultation, so when the social workers feel that their interventions in the helping process are not yielding results, they must consider referring the client to other professionals who have more specialized knowledge and competence to deal with such cases. And when they feel that they further consultations are needed, then they can explore such opportunities. Also, they must engage in consulting other colleagues. They must ensure that this confidentiality, privacy, and identity of the client is protected. And when only when they are referring the clients to other professionals, they are prohibited from either giving or receiving payment. And they are also responsible for ensuring smooth and orderly transfer of responsibility to the new service provider. And when the social worker refers to the clients to another professional, then every effort must be made to disclose all information to the colleague with the consent of the client. In case of sexual harassment and sexual relationships, whenever social work teachers and practitioners are engaged in supervising students, they may get involved in sexual activities of any nature with the students or trainees or other colleagues over whom they exercise professional authority. They should avoid happening getting into these relationships when there is chance of conflict of interest. When a social worker anticipates getting involved in a sexual relationship, the worker must transfer all professional responsibilities to avoid the conflict of interest and also avoid sexually harassing students, trainees, or supervisees and colleagues. Not just avoid, it is also totally barred. Sexual harassment would include seeking sexual uh, favors, verbal or physical contact, eve teasing, as well as sexual solicitation. And keeping in view the value of cultural sensitivity, male social work professionals involved in supervising female students must keep the option of the supervisees to be accompanied by a friend or a classmate for individual conferences. These are some of the things that they must be, um, you know, taken into consideration. Ethical responsibilities in professional practices. First of all, it is the education, consultation, and training that is our ethical responsibility. Only social workers who have strictly undertaking studies of theory and practicum courses must be supervising for the consultations, and other professional practices. Must also They must report and record their concerns with the employer or the institutions. If a fieldwork supervisor is not qualified in social work, or if an academic without social work qualification is entrusted with teaching of the core courses, or consultation within the boundaries of social work are being provided by a person not qualified in social work. And social workers who function as teachers or supervisors, if they are engaging in any classes only within their area of knowledge and competence, they should ensure that the students are provided instructions based on the latest information and knowledge of the subject. Also, keeping view the integrity of the social work professions, okay, keep the cultural sensitivity of the students, that should also be taken into consideration. Then, any kind of multiple relations need to be avoided at all cost, and reasonable steps must be taken to ensure clear policies are framed and followed for routinely supervision of the students. During performance evaluation and recommendation, then any kind of the performance of other colleagues of the fraternity, such as adjudication of dissertation, forward of MPhil PhD evaluation of performance appraisal, as well as publication for promotion, must be the same in responsible and fair manner. So all of this must be done in a responsible and fair manner. Okay, and also various the criteria or the guidelines for various programs of study in social work must be strictly followed. Social workers who are involved in selection committees um and other professional services must be fair and considerate to ensure only that the qualified and deserving candidates are appointed, and also who are involved in recommending projects or travel grants or establishment of social work institutions, extending recognition to institutions and agencies. All of these, must be responsible and fair and considerate without any discrimination, and any kind of monetary benefits must not be expected from the candidates. In case of client transfer and record keeping, we need to understand that social workers must discuss the case with the client whenever such thing is in the best interest of the client. Then also provide the services to clients who were receiving services from other professionals. Now, we have to carefully consider providing services to such clients, and they must consider providing services after considering the current relationship of the client with the previous service provider. While also accepting or transferring clients, must ensure that all necessary information of pertaining to the clients are shared to the continuity of the services. Okay, and also ensure that documentation or in records are accurate. Okay, must also ensure that documentation of records must be timely, and also uh, they reflect only the necessary information pertaining to the services which is provided to the, uh, you know, to safeguard the privacy of the clients and ensure that the records are stored in a safe place, okay, and are maintained for a reasonable period of time so that the future access is possible. In case of continuing education, administration, and commitments, we need to ensure that social work professionals are facilitated for continuing education so that they may improve their skills and knowledge on social work. Employers must also ensure that adequate resources are made available to meet the need of the clients and ensure a policy of open and fair distribution of resources without discrimination so that justice is done. Well, while preparing proposals and implementing programs, social workers must ensure that adequate number of professionals are employed. Then they must ensure that appropriate working environment is there within the organization, and keep the values of responsibility and commitment, and ensure that adherence to the service conditions and commitments is made. Also must be loyal to the employing agencies in every respect possible. Social workers should not allow employing organizations, policies, and administrative practices to interfere with their ethical practices. So, the ethical practices come before anything, everything, and also they must accept employment only in such agencies that have fair personal policies. They need to place students for practicum only in agencies where fair personnel practices are exercised, and also ensure that funding of resources and the employment agencies and organizations are exclusively used for the purpose for which they were mobilized or received. They have to take reasonable steps to ensure that the employers are aware of the ethical obligations of the social workers and strive towards providing the best possible standards of services. Social workers also have to strive to improve the policies, practices, and service provisions of the agency for which they are employed, and avoid any policies, or try to change these policies which are not in the best interest of the client, or which are proving to be of any kind of harm to the client, or discriminatory in nature, or are not in the best interest of the professionals. Then the ethical responsibilities as a professional. First is a professional competence. We have also already discussed that it is all about possessing required qualifications, skills base, enhancing knowledge, and making ourselves more proficient in practices, in the methods and techniques, in the reviewing. So we routinely review the professional literature and participate in continuing education. Also find that their personal problems interfere with their professional duties, they must immediate consult and take appropriate remedial steps. Then social workers who are faced with social distress, substance abuse, or other difficulties are not able to provide the best of services to the clients must discontinue their practices, and they must transfer clients to the other professional colleagues. In case of private business and dishonesty, they must not permit their interest in private businesses of any nature, and they must not associate themselves with any fraud, deception, or dishonesty. They should also not take credit for the work which they have not done, and also not claim credit for the work which has been accomplished by their supervisors or by their students, trainees, etc. They must also acknowledge and appreciate the work which has been contributions made by the colleagues and other professional fraternity. In case of misrepresentation, a social worker should not make any form of representation to the clients or employers, and ensure that their representation, uh, you know, is based on the qualifications, experiences, authorship, and other credentials, and must be accurate. And they have to make very clear distinction between their actions and statements as private individuals or as representatives of the institutions. Then also they need to be designated to represent, speak, or write on behalf of professional social work organizations. Then there are certain ethical responsibilities to the social work profession. Under this, it means loyalty and integrity to the profession, which is the trademark of every profession. We need to relentlessly work towards enhancing the knowledge and skill base of the profession, maintaining high standards of conduct, and also being responsible towards providing quality education, training, and following the ethical and the core practices and principles. Also, contributing our time and expertise to promoting the competence of social work profession. Then we can also use uh, provide much needed confidentiality and security for the clients, and ensure the protection of the client's confidentiality and privacy, not only for the termination of the helping process but even after the death of the client. And this all these practices will definitely protect and defend the profession from unjust criticism. Then ethical responsibilities towards social work institutions. In this, the first aspect is administrative transparency. So, as administrators, we need to maintain transparency, We need to be very open about the work. We need to be very, uh, you know, open about or honest about the recruitment, about the implementation of projects and programs, about the financial record keeping, about documentation and other things, and also follow the code of ethics. Then providing accurate and complete information about the employees. This is also important, and this can also be further by ensuring the competent and qualified candidates are selected in the institution and the agency, and any kind of discrimination must be avoided between the workers. They also have to ensure that organizations are not misused for any other purpose. Financial transparency must be maintained. Any kind of auditing and must be done in time. Any kind of annual returns, income tax must be done regularly. Return must be done regularly. They must ensure that effort is made to pay salary as per the national standards within time. Then also people need to be given their due promotions. Initiatives need to be taken to provide training and capacity building of the employees, and those for institutions, um, they must be fair and transparent in their recruitment policy, and must not any and for admissions to social work programs, they must the employers should not charge any unauthorized fee from the students. Also, it is their ethical responsibility to inform legal authorities when institutions and employers they charge unauthorized or undeclared fee for a job or for admission purpose, and also should not sell any kind of reports, assignments, and other such things to students, and ensure credibility and high standards. This can be done by setting high practice standards, by improving the quality services, and also the keeping in view the cultural sensitivity. So we need to take these relevant things into consideration by following a dress code which is relevant to to that region. Also must ensure strict discipline among the functionaries, and also not charge donations for admissions of any kind. Also not admit students or functionaries who submit false and fabricated documents, degrees, and basically should not admit any students who do not possess genuine attitude to the profession. So that is also something which is important, and not provide any character certificate or references if there are reports of misbehavior and misconduct on their part, and ensure that their infrastructure is well maintained, preserved, and they give good quality of educational services and student services. Then, in case of responsibilities in research work, then we need to follow strictly the guidelines which has been given by the ethical guidelines which has been given by the highest authorities. Also, need to protect the best interest of the clients, and protect their privacy and confidentiality. Give formulate ethical guidelines to issue regional and cultural and environmental context. Then they also need to be we need to also get more and more people involved in research and other promote such activities, set a high standard for research, focusing on different aspects of social work. Okay, need to ensure that they use high quality reference materials and not get into such things like plagiarism or some other things. Funding for the research must be from well-known sources, and like UGC, like ICSSR, and such other organizations. Also, we need to allocate proper funds for the research work, and give importance to these research, and provide fellowships and incentives so that more and more students and practitioners get into research work. In terms of privacy and consent, it is important that the social workers, they must take the consent of the people, of the respondents, okay, and whatever data they are collecting, they need to they need to consider things like, data privacy and all that. Then they must also ensure that any kind of risk is not involved to the respondents. The ethics committee need to submit the proposal to the research ethics committee, okay, whenever it is applicable for clearance. And publications should be uh, you know into genuine journals and articles, and the integrity. So this basically uh, must encourage more peer review of their proposed publications. So these are basically some of the important aspects of the ethics and principles, or the code of ethics of School of Social Work, that the students need to understand. Now, from tomorrow, we shall be discussing the journal, and how the considering the code of ethics has been already been taught. What are the ways in which students can carry out their fieldwork activities, and how they can basically work with agencies? What are the things that they can do? So we will be discussing these things tomorrow. So today we will put an end to the meeting. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me for today's class. We shall meet again tomorrow. Till then, have a really great day. Thank you.